Welcome back everyone, Duckville here bringing you the set between Storm8 and Epic for the After Hours Gaming League Season 3, Week number 4. We've seen some really interesting back and forth games between these two teams. Of course it's gone 1-1, then 2-2, and finally we are here in the final set. It is going to be a TVZ, yet again a very interesting feature sort of match of this matchup. And well, we'll see two Masters players going at it yet again, starting down at the bottom right hand side of Newkirk City, one of the interesting new maps in Heart of the Swarm. It is Überdarbing. And his opponent across to the left hand side, of course, on this two-player map, is our Red Zerg player, able to, well, unfortunately, he was not able to seal the deal in the previous game against his Zerg foe final dub. It is, final bug, I should say. It is J-Dub. I don't know, that's like the best epic voice I can do. Unfortunately, I'm not that guy from the movies who's like, coming soon to a cinema near you. See, that's not as good as he does it, but you know what I mean. Anyway, large map, of course, very lots of expansions, and I mean, it's very spread out, and it's not like the normal sorts of maps where, you know, you take your expansion, and then it's like, oh, well, the third base is blocked by rocks. It's actually, the third base is very easy to take. You've got this one, you've also got this one. And, you know, it kind of depends on how you want to play. Of course, a Terran player may want to take this one that's a little bit closer to home just because of the fact you can plonk some tanks up in sort of these positions up here. And given that you don't need to research siege, that's a very early and easy defense that you have to protect the third base. So I have actually seen, it's insane how many Terran players I've seen actually take a very quick third base. But, I don't know if we'll see that from Überdarbing. We'll see how he likes to play. Of course, in our first game, we saw him go for a very quick mech-based game with some early Marines and Thors, and was able to get a sizable amount of damage done. And we'll see if he's going to go for something like that. Of course, previously in week number 3, in game number 3, it was one of the best TVZ games that I have seen in Heart of the Swarm for quite a while. So firstly, I recommend everyone go and check that out, and secondly, I would love to see something like that happen again. J-Dub, meanwhile, he's gone for his quick expansion, of course, going to get the pool and the gas going shortly after that as well. Now, Zerg player will probably want to look to try and take this base up here. Now, the reason for that, of course, as a Zerg player, what you want to do is try and expand away from your opponents. If you guys can have a look at the minimap for just a second here, instead of like expanding to a base like this one just across to the side here, like actually where we are right now, what you want to do is try and expand up towards a base that is much further away, because this means that it can be hard for the initial sorts of attacks that Terrans like to do, like very early pushes like we saw from Überdarbing previously. These sorts of attacks can be a little bit harder to do if your opponent's a lot further away. So I would not be surprised if we see something like that from J-Dub. Then again, you can always take this one and it can be easily supported. So we'll see how they like to play it, as I'm not too familiar with the way these guys want to start this out. It looks as if we will have perhaps a drop play coming out of Überdarbing. Of course, a very easy way to take advantage of this map is to just fly away across the scenic landscape there, the cityscape I should say, down there, drop inside the main base, get some damage done, run through this mineral line, and get a lot of damage done with either the Hellbats or perhaps some Hellions as well. So we'll keep an eye on if Überdarbing is going to do something along those lines. He has got a couple of Hellions out to start off with, and before we get into the main action, what I want to do is grab you guys another quick Heart of the Swarm beta key. And I tell you what I'm going to do, once again, I'm just going to read it out with the old phonetic alphabet, and we'll keep an eye on what's going in the game while that's happening. But here we go. Ready? Pens ready? Alright, go. 7 Kilo Foxtrot Hotel Zulu Yankee Dash Yankee 8 Niner Niner Dash 2 Tango Bravo X-Ray 8 Zulu Dash November Zulu Golf November Dash X-Ray 7 Victor Bravo Hotel 6. Pens down. Hope you all got that. So, as we can see, it looks as if it is going to be a, well, some Hellions out at the front, along with a couple also just inside the just inside the perimeter of our Zerg player. We'll see if J-Dub is going to be able to deal with these easily. Of course, the standard sorts of ways that you still see in Heart of the Swarm that Zerg players like to do to deal with Hellions are roaches or a lot of queens or good wall off with some spine crawlers behind. But as we can see, it looks as if completely unprepared, J-Dub is going to lose a few drones at the front door here, and wow, he gets actually a few burnt up there. Only 5 of them, not a massive amount, and for, well, I suppose for that amount of Hellions, that may not have been worth it. I mean, 5 drones, it's not the largest amount. But now, we've got a couple of medevacs out. I'm interested to see if Uberdubbing is going to go for a drop. Like, I actually would have expected him to do something like that. A lot of players do tend to use the Widow Mines and the Hellbats in conjunction with each other. What you can do, my favorite thing that I've seen someone do, and I've tried to emulate it a bit myself, was actually drop a Widow Mine inside the mineral line. Use your medevac to boost up the medevac up to this sort of position here, and then when the drones are sitting here in this sort of line and they're running away from the mineral line as swiftly as their little drone tails can carry them, drop down a Hellbat and burn them all up. It's some crazy stuff. Of course, there was a particular tactic like that in Brood War where you could use DTs and Templar to do the same sort of thing. Yeah, I still kind of think that we'll start to see that a little bit more in Heart of the Swarm once the game evolves a little bit. But as we can see, J-Dub attacking into the natural base of his opponent with some roaches, getting some damage done. But here come the Hellbats jumping inside the main there, getting a little bit of damage done, but the medevac does go down. It looks like they will get a few more kills here. Wow, very nicely done, burning up some of those drones here. But the problem is, back at home for Uberdubbing, he's actually going to lose his command center. He needs to cancel. There we go. Does get the cancel off. He did get a few more worker kills inside the main base there, taking up the kill total to 12. Not too bad at all for him. He'll be reasonably happy with that, but the problem is that his expansion is now far behind where he would have wanted it, and the roaches are still knocking on the front door. They're going to be able to shoot down a couple of these units here. Of course, Hellbat's not the best way to deal with roaches, but I mean, when there's a couple of them like there are now, they're able to hold up those shields at the front and do a little bit of damage, but I don't think they'll be able to contest toe-to-toe with these roaches for the time being. And J-Dub, with his worker count sitting up at 38 still, is going to be, you know, reasonably comfortable. I don't want to say he's in the lead right now, because he is certainly not, just due to the fact that he's lost quite a lot of drones, but I mean, he's stopped his opponent from taking his expansion. He knows that there is some sort of mech tech coming along here, as we can see from the double factory that was scouted out, and, well, he knows that his opponent is going to be stuck inside the main base just for the time being, while these roaches sit at the front and be very pesky. So, this third base that is just about to finish up from J-Dub should go pretty much uncontested while he drones it up. Of course, as we can see on the unit tab, once a J-Dub gets fixed up with his supply, he'll be able to get some drones going. Of course, there's probably a lot of larvae that are prepared. In fact, we've got a total of, well, there were around about 11 or so. But he's actually just cranked out a whole bunch of Overlords, just getting a little bit too Overlord happy, I think, there. But now that he is able to get some drones going, we'll probably see him just crank out a whole bunch of drones, probably like I would expect him to actually just continue to get out a heap of them. But the issue for him is that he knows there are a lot of Hellbats out on the map slash Hellions, I suppose, if you want to look at it that way. So he's got to be careful of that. Needs to make sure that his defenses are up for that kind of thing here. And now, as we can see, the two medevacs now going across the map, going to use, I think this is a distraction medevac that's going to try and boost its way inside the main. So it'll be interesting to see how much damage he gets done with this attack. Of course, the Overlord spread is able to see everything that is coming along the map here, and it looks like he's going to move along just across to the top, draw some of the roaches and the lings across. Not gonna, well, alright, so the medevacs are now just going to fly over where the other ones were, and they're going to boost up, but whoops, there are the medevacs there, now dropping inside. The Hellbat's going to get a decent amount of damage done, going to flamethrower across some of those roaches, take down one, maybe two of the roaches, but I don't think he's going to really get too much damage done here. He's going to split up those medevacs, boost them away, the Ignite Afterburners giving them a free run home. In fact, actually one of them does get shot down. So Uberdubbing still not really able to get a massive amount of damage done right now, but he does find a third base. He's going to be able to clean this out a little bit because, as we said, those Hellbats are fantastic against all sorts of light units, and then even sometimes if they get some space, they're able to do a good amount of damage against buildings as well. But unfortunately this time, good reactions from J-Dub. He's able to clean that out for now, and as we can see, he's well, he's eventually going to get his economy going. I don't know what's going on with these drones. They're having a bit of a smoke break right now. But once again, we do see that our TVZ game is going to go into a very familiar position. We got Hydra Den now done and researching the muscular augments. We got a Roach Warren out as well, with a lot of roaches out and getting, getting into position to be very threatening yet again. But will they be able to move up against this large amount of siege tanks that are out? 5 tanks in total, of course, all sieged up. 3 factories inside the main, plus 2 weapons now researching for those mech units as well. And the Hellions will actually scout out that there are some units just at the front door here, so we will need to be very careful. And here they come, the roaches now marching up the ramp, getting absolutely annihilated by the tanks at the front, and Ubadabig will be very, very happy with that initial deflection. This of course means that his Hellions are going to be out relatively unprotected inside this third base, and will he be able to get some drone kills down? That is going to be a big factor in how the rest of this game plays out. He gets a couple. He's got a total of 17 worker kills, not too bad, but I mean, he's still struggling to sort of have a big impact on his opponent's economy. But I mean, looking at the worker count, 58 to 49, so there still is a little bit of wiggle room for Ubadabig right now, and considering he is using mech, he's going to be in a really nice position, because of course a mech army trades very, very well. So we'll see him. It looks as if he is going to perhaps move across. It looks like he wants to get into position to take this third base over here, but the Overlords are already in position, and J-Dub with a fantastic little maneuver there to drop down some creep spread on this third base is going to hold this up for quite a while. But the question is he going to be able to push forward at the moment? I don't think so. It looks like he is going to get a 4th base going. Also a 5th up towards the top side as well. Just going to make sure he's in position. And, oh, wow, nice scan there. A money scan from Ubadabig to catch that base going up. He's going to be aware that his opponent is macroing up right now. I would kind of not be surprised if we saw Ubadabig perhaps even try and grab his own 3rd base. This is the thing about mech in Heart of the Swarm, is that because some of these units are now extremely powerful, you can get a lot more tanks out, simply because you do save a little bit of gas from when you research siege. He's also got these Hellbats, which, as we mentioned, do a fantastic job against light units such as these the Hydralisks. They also can do a reasonable job protecting against things like these roaches as well. So you can certainly look at taking faster bases as a Terran player. You still need to be very careful, very positional as a mech player as well, though. So we'll have to see if J-Dub is able to take advantage of this for the moment. Of course, what we want to see from him is a very mobile force. At the moment, we got Hydras and Roaches, not particularly the best way of dealing with mech, but as we can see, with the forces now rolling in, he actually attacks straight into all of those tanks. He gets, well, annihilated to a point, but I don't mean that he got completely knocked down there, because he did trade quite nicely. As we can see, the tank count got dropped down to around about 6. So it was up a little bit higher before. I think it was at around about 9. But we do have 3 Thors out now for Ubadabig, so he is going to have a very powerful force here. And we'll see if he's going to push for, normally you do see a lot of Terran players actually look for around about a push at this point or a little bit earlier to try and catch a Zerg out before they get the Broodlords going. But of course, in Heart of the Swarm, things have changed up. You don't necessarily see those same sort of timings come out, because of the fact that you can use Hydras and Roaches as your main attack force, given that they do quite a lot of damage. They can tank a reasonable amount. I mean, I'm talking about the Roaches here, obviously, but when dealing with mech, of course, it's a very contentious sort of situation, whether you try and attack into that, or whether you take a lot of the map and just prepare for the late game. And it looks as if J-Dub is going to be preparing for that late game stage here. As we can see, we're going to have another little incursion inside the 3rd base here. Nicely done by J-Dub to deflect the attack for the moment. He is keeping his drone count up high at around about 72 workers, but as we can see, Ubadabig with his own macro coming about to its full extent. He's up to 73 workers in total, so he's actually doing a fantastic job. Love to see him perhaps push up here, clean out the rocks, this Overlord as well at the 4th base, and get sent up with a 4th, and then he can really ramp up this production. We've now got him going up to a total of 4 factories. On 3 bases, you could probably add down 1 more factory, or perhaps throw in a couple of starports to prepare for a possible air switch from your opponent. But as you can see, he's continuing on with his upgrades, +3 to weapons, +2 to the vehicle plating as well. And Ubadabig is just really sort of sitting in here. He's going to hold down a very sort of Brood War style mech play here. Just sort of sitting down, hunkering down for the long term, and just preparing for that late game when his mech army will be in a really good spot to just try and do a lot of damage with a very slow, methodical push. And now we'll see how J-Dub is going to deal with it. He's got the Vipers. I think this is actually one of the first times I've seen a Zerg for the AHGL get Vipers out. I'm very curious to see how this goes. Of course, these guys have the ability to consuming a building, which gives them energy. But hang on, we got a big push coming out from Ubadabig. He's now got all these tanks. We got a total of 12 tanks, 14 Hellbats, a couple of Thors in the back as well to provide air cover, and SCVs are now coming about as well. But the push is going to get stifled for a moment. The blinding cloud going down from those Vipers. Of course, this ability reduces the attack range of units down to melee, so the tanks will have a little bit of trouble there, and he does fall back for the moment to siege up and kill off some of those units that were pushing at the front. So Ubadabig forced to slow down. This is what I'm talking about, with a very slow, methodical push as a mech player. And now with some regen Evo chambers there, we can see that the Viper is able to throw down a few more blinding clouds. This is beautiful play here from J-Dub. I love the way he's utilizing that unit. Of course, a lot of Zerg players still just trying to get used to that unit. Of course, the abilities that it has, the Abduct, the Blinding Cloud. But it looks like despite the small setback, Ubadabig is able to hold up his own in the middle of the map here. While he's been doing this, a random tank and a couple of extra units have walked up to the 5th base of J-Dub, but not able to get too much done. It looks like Ubadabig will be forced to retreat for the moment. As I said, I would love to see him just clear out this base at a minimum so that he can get his 4th base started, but for the moment it looks as if he's just going to fall back. He might be looking to take his own 4th up the top here, but J-Dub, prepared as always, has already got an Overlord spreading down some creep there, so he will be forced to hold back for the moment. The Viper count still sitting at around about 4 of them out at the moment. Of course, the other skills that they have that I forgot to mention, Abduct, a little bit like Scorpion in Mortal Kombat, a little bit of get over here action. We may actually see that right about now. No, just Blinding Cloud right on top of the tanks. The tanks forced to unsiege, unable to get a single thing done. There's some Abduct, beautifully done by J-Dub, pulling the Thors right into position in front of the Roaches. But I mean, with the tanks at the back, 2-3 on their upgrades, they're able to knock this force back for the time being, and J-Dub is going to be forced to just be very careful right now. He doesn't really want to sort of push into this force unless he can get some beautiful Blinding Cloud down, not to mention some Abducts would really help if he wants to downsize this tank force. So we'll see if he's able to do that. There is an interesting force of Roaches and Hydras now pushing across the top section of the map. They're going to look to see if that 4th base is there. Unfortunately, that has been stopped for the time being, but it is being built just down here. J-Dub, I mean, just jump in there and kill that quick smart. He certainly could do that, but a couple of tanks now spaced out. We got some Thors here as well, but I mean, they're not going to be able to protect against this kind of force, and that command center I don't think is going to survive too long. The Hydras at the back, they've got their upgrades up at 3-3, so they are now doing 15 damage per attack, and they attack quicker than once per second, so they're looking good right now. Double Spire for J-Dub is being built up, so he is looking to perhaps prepare for that transition into Broodlords, or perhaps to throw in some Corruptors, or he may go for the Ultralist tech soon as well. But we've got all sorts of upgrades coming along. The Pneumatized Carapace, the Burrow, the Melee Attacks level 1, Tunneling Claws, Ventral Sacs. He's throwing out all sorts of upgrades here. J-Dub wants to get as much XP as he can, because he probably wants to get those cool portraits going, but also he wants the options to be available to him. And look at that Blinding Cloud. Tanks absolutely useless against this right now. Cannot shoot. As we can see, their range is reduced to absolutely nothing when that Blinding Cloud is on top of them. It does dissipate after a small amount of time. Think of it a little bit like playing against a Zerg in Brood War, where you've got that Dark Swarm ability right on top of units, and it sort of makes it hard to attack into a Zerg who is under Dark Swarm. It's sort of the reverse of that. But anyway, looks like we'll have an attack into what is the potential 3rd base of Ubadabig right now. Blinding Cloud going down, a couple more Blinding Cloud at the back. He's just actually making a wall of Blinding Cloud to stop his opponent from being able to fire back, and this has been an absolutely brilliant attack here into the 4th base. He's downsized the unit count of Ubadabig. He's down to 9 siege tanks. It's going to continue to drop. 6 Hellbats are out of the map, but not really participating in this fight. 3 Thors are out as well. There are the rest of the forces finally coming in. The Hellbats, of course, doing that extra damage against the Hydras, but I think it may be a little bit too little too late. Of course, you know, Blinding Cloud is providing so much power for a Zerg force to be able to deal with something like Mech. Of course, you know, the main contingent of Mech being that they've got long-range, powerful units here that can do quite quite a lot of damage, but I mean, if you can't shoot, then you're gonna die. So that's gonna be a very troublesome situation here. And Uber Dubbing, I think, has decided it is go time. He's got 6 stores out, a couple of tanks. There are some Hellbats thrown in the mix there as well. A few Vikings in the sky, and now the SCVs and the Mules are coming about, but I mean, there is not going to be much done here. J-Dub is going to try and come across, get some Spine Crawlers started, but once those blinding clouds go down, perhaps even a couple of Abducts to pull the tanks out of position, J-Dub is going to probably take the victory here. He's up to 176 supply, continuing to research those upgrades, and a GG comes out from Uber Dubbing. So our winner for week 4 in a very awesome game at number 5 is going to be Team Epic. They continue on in their win streak at the moment in their division, doing a fantastic job. Brilliant game from all of these players. I hope you all enjoyed. As I said, there were some really interesting matches there. I hope you all get to check them out. Also, make sure you check out the other games that I've done some casts of, and that the other folks over in the casting competition have done over at AfterHoursGamingLeague.com. You can also find me on YouTube.com/DuckVILLELOL. Cheers to those peeps who may have grabbed the Heart of the Swarm beta keys. Let me know if you grabbed them, just so that I know. And yeah, well, we'll see you all next week for some more awesome action from the After Hours Gaming League.